stand by for action.
Thanks for joining me. My name is Dave Miller. I am the Unpleasant Blind Guy. We're going to start out with a little bit of housekeeping because I appreciate everyone who takes time to listen to this little thing because there are a lot of shows out there. So when you guys take time to listen to mine, I appreciate it. These folks have gotten hold of me via UBG contact on the Twitter, and I just want to acknowledge them. All right, I want to thank Juanita David, that's Patriot Hearts on the Twitter, for her kind comments about the last show. Juanita David has been a bud of mine since ye old Tammy Bruce chat room days, and has been a friend ever since, and I appreciate that person very much. And another one I want to thank is Out West, or Tate_WES on the Twitter, for their kind comments as well. Now, let's get into the first thing we're going to talk about, which is Mr. Bob Costas. I know I've said that I'm not going to rake over the dead ashes of what the big bugs have talked about, and certainly the Costas thing with his little rant about the Washington Redskins name has been something that they've pretty much all hit at some point or other. I'm going to try and put a slightly different slant on it. As I see it, everyone in the United States of America should have a voice. The First Amendment is something that I hold very precious, and I defend it, and everyone's right to use it. And there is such a thing as decorum as well. Now, when I talk about decorum, what I mean is there's a time and a place for exercising that freedom of speech. Mr. Costas is one of the hosts of NBC's Sunday Night Football, and like I think almost every other American, when I tune that in, what I want to see is football. What I want to hear about is football. What I want to think about is football. The last thing on my mind when I tune in a game at any time is politics. I'm looking to, just for a few hours, escape the world of bogosity that politics has become and immerse myself in some good football action. And, I like good commentary on football as well. But that's the only commentary I want to see when I'm watching a football game. I don't need to hear anyone's political views, even if I agree with them. I don't need or want to hear about them. And for those who say that it's okay because what Costas is saying is things that they agree with, because this isn't the first time he's done this. We know he did this before with the whole gun control issue, which he's all up for gun control. You may want to examine the things that you believe in, because if they're so weak that they have to be insinuated in everyone's entertainment, that they have to be propagandized, that they can't stand up to regular discussion in the proper forums, that they may not be everything that you think they are. I'm saying this to the people on the left and the people on the right, and I think it's something that Mr. Costas needs to embrace himself. So, to Mr. Costas, when there's a football game going on, call the game, and when it comes to your political views, save them for another forum. From a football fan, thank you. Now, I want to get to another story that has been, I think, misrepresented, poorly represented. I don't think that people have quite gotten a handle on it. A few people may have, but again, this is one of my deals where I look at a story in a somewhat different way. And I will add that this person is also my awesome American. Now, I'm talking about Diane Reedy, who is, I don't believe she's officially lost her job yet, but I could be wrong about that, certainly was a stenographer for the House of Representatives. Now, what I'm going to do is read from a story by Michael Sheridan of the New York Daily News, which was published and updated on Friday the 18th. And just what this guy wrote, I think, is very instructive, particularly when you consider the rather incestuous relationship that there is right now between Washington and much of the news media. So here we go with the headline. The, quote, Holy Spirit, unquote, made her do it. Stenographer Diane Reedy offers godly excuse for bizarre House of Representatives rant. The 48-year-old spoke of God and Freemasons before being hauled away by security. Her husband, a former pastor, has defended his wife's diatribe. She was on a mission from God. The spiritual stenographer who interrupted the House of Representatives vote to pass a bill to reopen the government and raise the debt ceiling on Wednesday has offered an explanation for her bizarre rant. For the past 2.5 weeks, the Holy Spirit has been waking me up in the middle of the night and preparing me, through my reluctance and doubt, to deliver a message in the House chamber, Diane Reedy said in a statement to Fox News. That is what I did Wednesday night. The 48-year-old Maryland woman surprised Congress when she took the microphone at the podium normally used by the president. The House stenographer then delivered a harsh diatribe about God and Freemasons before being ejected by security. He will not be mocked, she belted out to start off her brief rant. He will not be mocked. As nearby politicians beckoned to her to sit down and the gavel pounded in a demand for order, she refused to yield. Don't touch me, she snapped at one man who attempted to grab hold of her. The greatest deception here is this is not one nation under God. It never was, she said. Had it been, the Constitution would not have been written by Freemasons. They go against God. You cannot serve two masters. Of the 39 men who signed the U.S. Constitution, 13 were reportedly Freemasons. Her rhetoric ended with, Praise be to God, your Jesus Christ. Reedy's husband, Dan, defended his wife's ravings. My wife is a sweet, level-headed, wonderful woman of God, the former pastor declared to Fox News. I am proud of her. The stenographer was briefly questioned by authorities, then was sent to the hospital for a mental health evaluation. She was sent home shortly afterwards. It is unclear if criminal charges will be filed or if she will keep her job. Now, that's the story. It's a brief one, but there are videos and pictures and things. And as with all stories that I read on here, I will publish this in UBG Contact on the Twitter. There'll be links there to it. And there's going to be a link to a story by Fox News on Ms. Reedy. Now, when you go through this story, it is filled with insults against people of spirituality, people of religious faith. The things that she said were called a bizarre rant. Just a lot of insulting terms thrown around in this. And I found it very interesting. It just attempts to make Ms. Reedy look like a nut job. Now, honestly, I'm not into the Freemasons thing. I don't think that has a lot of meaning here. But something did happen, and it wasn't just that some religious wacko went nuts on the floor of the House of Representatives. I think anyone who thinks that's all it was is, as Dennis Miller used to say all the time, missing the point. Point here is not what Ms. Reedy says, but what drove her to say it. Now, I don't talk about my faith a lot. My faith is my business. And if there are some on the right who don't like the fact that I don't talk about my faith a lot, then they may want to refer to the name of this show. It is not the I'm going to talk about stuff that you like show. It's the Unpleasant Blind Guy, because that's who I am. But I will say this. There is a fundamental good and a fundamental evil in this universe. And on Wednesday, the Congress of the United States of America did not serve the fundamental good. Now you notice that Ms. Reedy says that for 2.5 weeks she had been troubled. And this says a lot, in my opinion. Is it says that a decent human being saw what the gamesters in Washington were doing, and she couldn't stand it anymore. Not just because what was going on was unethical, but because what was going on was evil. And yeah, I said that. For any listeners on the left who might not like that one, again, you might also want to refer to the name The Unpleasant Blind Guy. I'm not always going to say things that are pleasant to you. Yeah, I'm going to talk about good and evil. And we need to come to terms with the fact that what was done to the people of the United States by the elites in Washington was evil. This will accelerate the end of our economy. And I think some of them know it. And I think that this is something that would push any decent, loving human being over the edge. It is something that would infuriate anyone who loves the people of the United States and the freedoms that our country represents, because all of those were further pushed towards the edge by the Congress of the United States on Wednesday. No good was done in that House chamber. And Ms. Reedy snapped because she had been troubled by all of this, as we all have, and she spoke out. I don't think Ms. Reedy is to be vilified or pitied. I think it is the United States of America and its people who are to be pitied, because what went on Wednesday was as far removed from honorable as anything that I've seen in over 40 years of observing politics. Ms. Reedy's speech might not have been the one that you or I might have delivered on the House floor, if we had done it at all, but I do give her respect for speaking out, as many of us have. She just did it on the House floor in front of the people that were selling our country down the river. I respect her for that, and for that I call her an awesome American. Ms. Reedy stood forward and spoke out, as we all must do. The message has to be somewhat more coherent, in my opinion, but it's time for people who haven't stood up before to stand up, regardless of the cost. And there will be a cost. I salute Ms. Reedy's bravery. And that's going to be that for this show. Everyone, I want to say thank you again for listening. If you want to get hold of me with store suggestions, awesome American suggestions, anything of that nature, please get hold of me via UBG Contact on the Twitter. And my shows are now available for direct download via Dropbox. I want to thank my friend Simile Samurai from the old Dennis Miller message boards for the bug in the ear that he gave me concerning that. So thank you, Sim Sam. Appreciate it, brother. Everyone, I want to say have a great week. Have a great weekend. Thank you. And may your God go with you. Bye-bye.